Hello everyone, it's Tana. Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome to the channel and my first video for Scrappy Tales Crafts. Get a load of that metallic envelope. I just love that. So these are the products I have for my videos for the next 2 months. We have popping poppies, rose petals, and then the die set is assorted hearts. So I'm going to catch my breath while you take a look at that. I'm sick. I'm sorry guys. I seem to get sick a lot in the winter. If you hear me drinking something, it's just to keep my throat from going dry. We're going to do some watercoloring today, and I'm using Arches 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. And I cut out all my masks first. And when I mask a card front, a card panel, I lay it out first. So here you see me with my vase, so that I know where my single rose is going to go. And then I just move the vase, lay down my rose, cover it up with a mask. You work your way from front to back, laying down your masks as you go. And then, if you think of it that way, whatever you want in the foreground, you mask or you stamp first, and then you work your way backwards from there. Some of my masks are pink, orange, some are white. Sorry for that, it was whatever I grabbed for masking paper. Or sometimes I use full stick Post-it, which is why you see the colored ones. So here I'm cutting the vase off of my mask because there's going to be water and stems in that vase, so we need to watercolor that. But I did mask off the stems and the upper part of the roses because we're going to have some falling leaves and petals. And you're going to be able to see some of those from behind the clear glass vase. And we're also going to watercolor them accordingly, so that's the reason for half a mask and not a whole mask. And then the big reveal. I was going to cut that out of the video, but the reveal when you take off masking paper is just so wonderful. There I just sketched out a quick, rounded background because the roses in the vase have to be sitting on something. So we're just going to do a wooden table under there. And I'm not going to do too much talking during the watercoloring. I have all the colors listed on the screen for you as I change them. I used Catherine Pooler inks as watercolors this time. I love working with the color palette that she has for her inks. And those smaller petals, there's more of the darker color because when a petal falls off and dies and falls off, it's going to be darker in color. And these stamps are so well drawn. I mean, you can basically, if you don't know what you're doing with shading, which I'm not that great at, just follow the shading lines and you'll do fine. So I really like the pink rose. The combination of the sangria and then the pink champagne just really made that rose look gorgeous. I just love the way it turned out. And there's a lot of great sentiments in these stamp sets. I'll get to those in a second. But lovely. I do apologize in advance if you can hear my new cat or my kids. I was unable to sit in the car today, not being sick the way I am, so I had to send them upstairs. Hopefully they're quiet. So I'm only showing you one yellow rose, one pink rose, because there's no need to see me paint the same thing over and over again. And I'm using Deck the Halls as my darkest color on my leaves and my stems. And then I go in with Sage, which is a lighter, I don't want to call it like a regular green. It's more like sage, but it's more like an olive green I see it as. And then I'm going to add even more water to that sage to watercolor whatever parts of the leaves and stems are in or behind the water and the vase. And I'll show you that when I'm done. So for this stamp set we're working with today, the rose petals, we have roses are red, violets are blue. You make life better just by being you. And if you can see the color, the slightly lighter color inside of the vase for the leaves and the stems. Now I'm going to use the hot tub as the water itself. We also have Will You Accept This Rose, which I know Sabrina said is from The Bachelor, I believe. I don't watch The Bachelor, but I have heard that phrase before. Here I'm starting to color the table, and I'm laying my lightest color down first and just filling that whole area in. And then I'll go in with the Over Coffee, which is the next darkest brown I have. I put a slight shading around the flowers that are laying on the table, and then I start trying to make what are like wood grain and knots in the wood. Just making thin lines and little circular ovals off of those lines to kind of replicate wood knots. We also have You Are My Best Bud is another sentiment in this set, and Have a Rosy Day. So it doesn't have to be for your love or your hubby. It can be for a friend. Now I'm using icing on the cake to do the final darkest shading and outlining of the wood grain and the wood knots. The Popping Poppies sentiments, you can make a lot of mixed sentiments of your own. You have popping, popped, pop, high, bye to say, you make life, and in my mind. So there's a lot of possibilities with that stamp set as well. So now I'm just gonna, I didn't like the leaving the background bare, mainly because it's not even white, it's kind of like a cream. So I went in with some Twilight, and I didn't want to take my biggest brush because I knew I would need to go around some of those smaller areas around the roses. If it got too dark, I added some just water to my brush and spread that color out. And if you see me picking like lint or whatever off of this as I'm watercoloring, it's not the paper. I must have wiped this mat off a million times, and I think I was still picking like dust and lint and stuff that got mixed in with my ink and water. There's just nothing I could do about it. So I showed you guys at the beginning what the finished trim size of this panel is, and that's what I'm doing now, cutting it down. I think it turned out really good. I mean, I'm not an expert watercolor by far. I think those shading lines on the stamp set really help. I'm using some Midnight Plum mirrored cardstock as a frame behind there, but I just can't bring myself to waste that much mirrored cardstock behind a picture that, you're never going to see the mirrored cardstock. So I always cut the center out. I'm going to glue that straight to that frame. And now we're going to stamp the sentiments, and I chose 2 of the sentiments. You Are My Best Bud for the bottom, and the poem, The Roses Are Red. I had to stamp this numerous times. I think it's a cross between the heavy watercolor paper and I think my VersaFine Clear ink pad is finally starting to run out of ink. And I'm going to pop this whole thing up on foam tape, and we're going to add some embellishment. But I wanted to tell you guys, I have photos coming up at the end here for you to see of the finished card. I have a new phone. I have the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And everything's different with this phone. And I take my photographs and they turn out perfect. And then when I insert them into my video, the whole color changes. So I tried messing with it for this video to see if I could get it to be better. We'll see if they actually look this way when I post it on YouTube. You guys let me know what you think about the pictures. And don't forget to check out Scrappy Tales Crafts website, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.